reopening session. A closed meeting was held. 2 items were on the agenda: labor relations, employee negotiations, and litigation or potential litigation affecting corporation of Township of Whitewater Region. Okay. All in favor? Carried. What are we doing now? Okay. Board of OFCI funding project identification staff recommendations. Christine can talk about that.
Thank you, Chair. The Ontario Infrastructure Community Fund, we have discussed before. That's our $54,900 annually for the next 3 years, for each of the next 3 years. Marcia and Steve and Bill and I have met. We have to identify a project before the end of March. And there's considerable reporting that I have to send in to make sure our project fits the funding parameters. What our recommendation is, and I've pretty much given you the background to it. There was a piece of the Highway 17 infrastructure project from 2013 that was not done. We ran out of time. It's the cast in place repair to the sewer. And I want to make sure that everyone understands what the implication of this are. We received funding from MTO because that is their highway to redo the road bed. This process does not require digging up the road. The sewers that are in disrepair, and some of them quite seriously, are repaired in place without having to dig up the road. And it's crucial that we get this done as soon as possible, because should one of those pipes have a catastrophic failure, and we all know what the truck traffic is on Highway 17, and we're aware that this deficit exists in our infrastructure, there's exposure to liability here. So that's why we're recommending that. I did have a chat with their funder today. The recommendation that I made for you in that letter, that Steve has made, that we made together for you in that last paragraph, actually I have to modify that. We would only be allowed, because OSIF is year by year, so this would be a project that we would start and complete in 2015. It would only allow us to access $54,900 towards a $135,000 project, leaving a balance of $80,000 to complete in this year. However, the good news is that we have federal gas tax money aside in, anyway, set aside, and this project would qualify, and those funds can be stacked. So that's how we could pay for this entire project and get it done and get it out of the way in 2015. So that is going to be staff's recommendation. That's the most crucial project we've got on the go that has to be done this year. And I guess that will come up then to a corporate services meeting as we get into budget. But I wanted everyone to be aware of our rationale. And that's all I have on that. You're done.
Yeah. Okay, Chris.
Steve, directed at you. So just explain the no digging up the road procedure. What's involved here?
Approach. Councilor, so what we have is we have sections of our sanitary that are asbestos cement, and they're showing obviously there's deficiencies in it, and this is cast in place. Our mayor can probably give you better information than I can on this procedure, but you don't have to excavate. You can fix it. It's like a liner, if I'm correct, and it can be done without excavating and tearing up any portion of the road.
them, or are we comfortable that we can do a liner, a partial liner, or a partial distance liner?
I would have to ask our,
What was the contract set for, I should say?
the
The
contract.
original contract, it was in the original contract, was it not?
Yes.
If I may, it was in the original contract as an option, and then we just simply ran out of time, that we couldn't get that. Now, there is, Rock Blaskowitz from JP2G has done, the engineering's been done. We've got the report, we've got the drawings, we're ready to rock.
That's what that is what I would have to consult is Rob and the engineer.
Can I ask a question, Steve? Why didn't they do that when they trucked the road?
We ran out of time. This is, there were other locations identified where you had to put in new main. These were locations that could be done.
Okay.
Simple procedure.
Chris?
And can we do this work ourselves, or does that have to be contracted out?
It'll be tendered, yeah.
Any more questions? Okay. Take your check.
These are the chairs.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you're free.
Don't say a thing.
I won't, you trust me.
I want to open the planning meeting at 7:15. And the first order of business, would Doug Schultz like to speak to the minor variance meeting that we're not having?
You'll have to turn them on, this till it's green.
Good evening, council. I'd like to thank, or I'd like to apologize to anyone who come out tonight for the minor variance meeting for after. It was scheduled for tonight and it had to be canceled because the council, or we had passed, the planning committee was appointed by bylaw, and our committee of adjustment we thought would be an umbrella underneath the planning committee, and that's not right. Our committee of adjustment has to be appointed by bylaw, and we will, on the February the 18th meeting, appoint them. We will then reschedule the minor variance meetings and go on from there.
It's actually already on your new schedule that I provided for all of you. On Wednesday, March 4th at 5 o'clock. There's no other place I can fit it in. And it gets tricky because minor variance, you might want to speak to the timelines around it.
Yes, minor variance, when we get an application and it's complete, we have 30 days to hear a meeting. That's why it's pretty tricky to get them arranged for meetings sometimes. And we have to give them 10 days notice before the meeting. So, you know, when we get a minor variance application that's complete, we have to schedule meetings immediately. And that's why you see emails coming and stuff like that from Hope saying, hey, can you meet this deadline of this meeting? The other thing is that we have scheduled a meeting with the applicants of the minor variance for Friday morning with the planners to go over the minor variance committee comments from the planners with Mr. Ben McMullen. So we're going to try to help them out a little bit and make them try to have them understand how it works. Any other questions?
No questions? Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it. I'd like to welcome a delegation from Bonnechere Excavating, Mark Enright.
Another chair. Matt's going to be talking here. Good evening, council. Thank you for having us here, and we're here to talk about some property development in Whitewater Township. And Matt's got some handouts here. Matt Naismith. Matt is a PEng, and he's been with BEI for about 6 months now, and he's been doing a lot of homework on these properties for us.
Okay, so, just running through the package, starting with, so I mean, the title we've got going here is Whitewater and Bone Shore Excavating working together for growth and development. We have a couple of current activities that are currently in work. The first being the Wren subdivision. BEI is currently working towards further development of that subdivision. The benefits that we see for the community, investing in the community, increase in tax base, would lead towards improvements to the adjacent services, which then leads to infrastructure improvements and increased opportunities for the local businesses. Something that has started recently is development of the Wallace Drive property, the corner of Wallace Drive and Highway 17. And that has to do with the Whitewater Brewing Company. So the target with that development is that the brewery and a tasting room be open and operational by the summer of 2016. Benefits there, investing in the community, increases the tax base, improvements to the adjacent services. So we have McLaren's that are willing to donate property for water and sewer extensions to run through their property. There are employment opportunities. The brewery would be looking to hire 10 to a dozen employees once they get that started, and it would then increase business to other establishments in the town of Cobble. As far as next steps, the Wren subdivision, so that seems to be running along fairly healthily. So we're looking for continued assistance with the admin side of that. I believe there's a section in the agenda for tonight that lists the various steps, and I believe we're at step 9.
Yes, we are.
The Whitewater Brewing on Wallace Drive, so what we're looking at there is some investing in the Cobden community for some future benefits for the community. So water and sewer, assistance with the admin process, and then that would lead towards a benefit for the community as far as tax base, infrastructure, and other businesses. The following pages are some draft layouts as far as the brewery property or the brewery building. So at the corner of 17 and Wallace Road, or Wallace Drive, sorry. So it's conceptual at this point, but it's at least a start. That's the first page. Page 6, the second page shows a second building in there. That would not be associated with the brewery, but it's a thought that it would lead to development of a second business on the Century Building property. On to page 7, just an overview, the wonders of Google Maps. You get into page 8. So page 8 and page 9, I've tried to show the current water service and current sewer service. The mayor might be able to better expand on that. I'm not sure if I've got that exactly right. And then the intent is with water and sewer lines coming through, there would be an opportunity to service down Wallace Drive and Simmons Drive at the end.
Thank you, Matt. Does council have any questions? Mayor Johnson?
Chris, do you want me to expand on Matt's question of the present location of the services?
Yeah, thank you.
At the the east edge of McLaren property is the last manhole for the sewer. The water goes ahead up, goes down Wallace Drive on the east side of Wallace Drive, and there are services then that go across to the property in water only. It's close, but not quite. I believe there's a shut off, but if I'm okay to go ahead? Yeah. The service that's there probably isn't satisfactory for what you're intending to do, so you'll probably upgrade that too. I'll do a question along with this sewer. If you're going to come from the end manhole, and then are you going to come up on the inside of the highway, or are you proposing to come up on the edge of the highway?
We're proposing to come up, through an easement through the McLaren property, off the highway.
Okay, and that would avoid the rock, I presume.
It would avoid the rock, and it would avoid the impact of the highway as well.
Exactly, so there would be no issues with the highway.
There will be an issue at the connection point, connection to existing. There will be some impact of the highway at that point. Not to the travel portion of the road, but it would be on the street.
If I'm not mistaken, it's not deep, so it may not. Okay, so to go further with that, then you would be going across on an easement back of what is basically the embankment or four slope of 17 Highway. That would be McLaren's property, right?
That's correct.
Inside the fiber optic and the gas, or between?
I'm not sure that the utilities there now.
Okay. Oh, okay.
We'd have to really stick it out, but we've done some design proposal.
Could you briefly give us an oversight of the advantage to us that should propose just a little bit more than what was given there? What we could probably do in the future with this?
Well, the advantage would be businesses located on the old Century Milling property with town services, with both water and sanitary service. What those businesses would look like, it's hard to say right now. We've got a potential interest with the Whitewater Brewing Company, and as well, there's the opportunity to service the Wallace Drive houses. Now, would take some sort of a pumping system to get those homes onto the services. Thank you. As well as the McLaren properties, McLaren, and there's lots along Wallace Drive, as well as McLaren premises, whether they're interested in the future as well.
I know I'm hogging here, but
No, I'm gonna go first.
perfect, go for it.
So it sounds like you have a close to an agreement with Whitewater Brewing, so a couple of questions on that regard. With building size, so do you have any of building size? The water sewer impact of that building, what it would mean to the region?
They are currently studying it. Do you have any numbers with you, Matt, on that? On the water usage as well as the effluent?
The water usage, I believe, was somewhere in the neighborhood of 7,000 liters. 7,000 liters, I believe, per week. But that was based on the current brewing rates. That would increase a certain amount when they increase rates. The thing of it is, the material going out into the sewer lines is less than a house. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,000 liters per day,
another question on so the Whitewater Brewing now, I know that they're located South Fletcher Road. So would they be keeping that facility, or would they be closing that one and moving to this new facility?
Based on the review of their business plan last week, they're intending to keep that facility open and service that area. This would be a separate facility.
Okay. Any other questions? Sure to God, there's more than just Mayor Johnson. Mayor?
My specialty is sewer and water, sorry. The sewer service, when you bring it up, I'm presuming you're getting an easement, well, they have to be getting an easement from McLaren's. Are they also considering tying on? That's income for us, you see.
I don't wanna speak for them.
Yeah, just till it goes green, I'll have to change the battery in there.
It definitely, Mr. Enright, is an opportunity, though, for them to tie on and become an income property for us.
I would say they would tie on at some point, Hal, but I don't know. I don't want to speak for anyone else. I mean, they haven't had the opportunity to tie into town services thus far, but when the infrastructure is there, I would think it would be an option for any of those property owners in the future. And to me, it makes sense to run the infrastructure that far and access and give the opportunity to all of those property owners.
Do you know of any other businesses or well, mainly businesses that would be interested if that line was extended?
We have had some initial
I'll change the battery in there.
We have had some initial contact from some people. Other than that, there's nothing further, Chris, right now. I think when there's some activity, it may lead to something further.
Yeah, I can hear you up here. Sorry, last question for myself on jobs. So you mentioned potentially a dozen jobs. Do they see those as full-time positions?
That was the intent, yes, this 10 to 12 full-time positions.
Okay.
With the increase in rates and keeping the other facility open, the first facility open, they're going to need new employees. They're looking at, I believe they just hired somebody to deal with their advertising and their
Marketing.
So they are growing.
Okay. Some other questions? So is there a proposal to council in place? Is there an ask? I do realize that you were here a year or two ago. So is there a specific ask that you're asking council here?
What we need is, we will be requesting, or putting a proposal to council to extend the sanitary sewer to the Century Building property. That will come hopefully in the next month. There has been some engineering done on it. When we put the proposal in before, we had no potential business for the site. Now we do, and hopefully that would put council in a position to reconsider.
Mayor?
This time, you don't foresee possibly any rezoning or anything that we would have to deal with at this point? Do you know if there would be any rezoning required?
The current zoning for the property, the one property at the corner of Wallace Drive and 17 is adequate for the usage of the brewery. They're looking at moving the line over 20 or 30 feet, which might look into a severance, but that shouldn't be an issue as far as that goes.
Mayor? Last one?
Entrances, proposed entrances, coming off, one off of 17 split two ways, or one off of 17, one off of Wallace Drive?
The second option, one off of Wallace Drive, and the current one that's off of Century Milling, I believe.
That's right. 46 south. It doesn't show the entrance, but it shows as like a common area between the two potential buildings. Should there be a shared area between them? Access to the existing.
Basically, that's what I was asking. That's perfect.
We do have about 5 minutes left, and on the agenda, as time permits, was discussion on progress on Wren subdivision. So, did you want to speak to that? And we spoke to a bit of it in your presentation.
All right, so there's, step 9, I believe, has to do with the conditions of draft approval. And we have those conditions in